What's going on, guys? It is me, Tyson the Trainer, back with another video for you, back with my serial killer shirt. I'm just obviously going to stand closer so you guys can hear me. Now, today I want to talk to you about why it is important not to focus only on eating whole food as an athlete, right? Now, obviously I've done videos before talking about why whole food is important. And when I say whole food, you know, fruits, veggies, whole grains, things that are basically not, I don't want to say shitty food, things that are basically coming from the ground or the earth or just, you know, natural stuff. You know what I'm saying? I hate to kind of, make these clarifications because it is a little bit tricky. But when we say whole food, we kind of get an idea in our head about what that should be. You know, you think about that white back, or like the nutritional fucking pyramid or plates or whatever it's going to be. And it's got all the good food on there, basically. Okay? Now, as an athlete, it is important that you are having predominantly, mostly whole nutritious food in your diet, because not only for the macronutrient side of things, but also for the micronutrients, because micronutrients are cofactors and things that happen in the body, and you need micronutrients, right? If you have micronutrient deficiencies, you're going to know about it. You know, perfect example, iron. Perfect example, zinc. Perfect example, what else? Sodium deficiency. Well, people aren't really going to be deficient in sodium, but all these things, or potassium deficiency, which could actually be an issue. A lot of things can actually cause issues, deficiency-wise, and not be good for you if you aren't eating whole nutritious food, right? Now, while that is important, one thing I probably would want to say is for athletes who have a higher calorie expenditure, you probably don't want to get all of your food from whole nutritious foods. Because at the end of the day, when you're trying to get a lot of food in, and it, let's say, is coming from all unprocessed, whole, nutritious food, it's going to actually be quite hard for you to be able to get all that food in, especially when you're on a high amount of calories, you know? And the good thing about this is when you're on a high amount of calories, just eating the bare basics, you know, getting all those daily habits that I've talked about before, is going to cover those bases when it comes to getting enough nutrients in. Then with the rest of your calories, they should actually be coming from basically whatever you want. And ideally, you'd probably want to get predominantly from carbohydrate sources that are simple carbohydrates that are easy to digest. And another reason we don't want to be eating all of our food from whole nutritious food is because fiber can be one issue that causes stomach upset. It slows down digestion, which means it makes it harder to get more food in because you're going to be fuller for longer, which is a bit of an issue if athletes need to get their calories in. And again, with the digestion slowing down in transit, you can also have food sitting in your stomach for longer. And especially if you're someone who's going to be training multiple times a day, you don't want food sitting in your stomach for long periods of time. And so again, while it is important to get, whole nutritious food in, we do not want to make it 100% of our diet whole nutritious foods. I'd probably recommend this to people who are above 3,000 calories a day, okay? If you're below 3,000 calories a day, then you probably do want to get 90% of your diet from whole nutritious foods. Once you start pushing above 3,000 calories, it does become a challenge, okay? So with that being said, ideally, you're an athlete, you're probably doing, multiple training sessions a day, or doing long endurance training sessions if you are listening to this side of things. So if you are someone who's doing that, then you want to prioritize using carbohydrates as your main fuel source and getting calories in from those simple carbohydrates. So if we think about rice cakes or white rice or cereal, great option. Love cereal. Crumpets, muffins. When I say muffins, I'm talking about like the English muffin, like English McMuffin from Macca's and stuff like that. Like the buns, you want those type of things. What else? Dried fruit would be a good help. Anything that's quite easy to break down in the stomach and is going to give you basically a quick source of energy, but just breaks down easier. This way we're going to be avoiding those fiber issues that I was talking about before. And also it's just going to make it a lot easier to get those calories in. There is nothing worse than looking at a huge plate of, for dinner, and you're like, fuck man, I got potatoes, I got pumpkin, I got all this. And it's just so much food and you're like, this is just a mission for me to get it all down. And then you're bloated afterwards and you just feel like shit and you're like, oh, or you're eating a huge thing of oats in the morning. And you're like, yep, I'm gonna have my oats, I'm gonna be healthy, I'm gonna get all this stuff in. But then you've got to run an hour and a half later and you feel so sluggish because you're having the oats. And so sometimes it can be a detriment to your performance if you're having, these high amounts of voluminous foods or high amounts of fiber or anything like that around your training time, which is why simple carbs can be quite, easy for you to be able to get in and not cause those issues, okay? Also, we're saying that, using liquid carbohydrates to your advantage too. Using fruit juices, using full sugar Powerades or Gatorades to also hydrate you too during your training session is an easy way to get calories in. Using dextrose, while you're doing your training sessions or running longer distances using those training gels. They're actually going to be quite beneficial for you at the end of the day. Because again, they're easy to, when you drink a solution like that, it actually gets absorbed by the GI tract quite quickly, and it's not adding any extra volume to your meals or to your food at all. Like, you could be sipping on Powerade throughout the day, not just in your training session, and that's 160 calories extra right there, or again, smashing down 4, 5, 6 rice cakes with something as simple as peanut butter, easy to eat. Even rice cakes with honey, very easy to eat. Bagels, another great option. Again, super calorie dense, delicious, low in fiber, and very high in carbohydrates, and actually have a decent amount of protein in there too. So you have a lot of different options out there, but you'd actually want to utilize these to your advantage. And again, we don't want to be looking, especially as an athlete, looking at foods as good foods versus bad foods. Because for you obviously want to prioritize, like I said, getting the whole nutritious food in first, but also as an athlete, your performance is what matters. And so sometimes you do have to choose those bad foods that people want to talk about in order for you to be able to perform at your best. And again, like even with recovery side of things, getting high GI carbohydrates in post-workout is better than getting low GI carbohydrates in. If you've just trained in the morning and you've got another training session in a few, like let's say 5 hours from now, you definitely want to make sure you're getting a quick source of carbohydrates in after your workout or after your training session versus getting something that's going to be slower digesting because it won't be absorbed back into the muscles. And if you're not replenishing muscle glycogen, you're going to have a, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Inhibited performance when going to the next session, right? So in order to prevent that, we have quick source of carbohydrates and protein immediately after your workout. So ideally, what you would want to do, for most of you, probably aim for again, it does depend on how many calories you have, but after 3,000 calories, follow the 80-20 principle, 80% whole nutritious foods, 20% eat whatever the fuck you want foods type of thing. When I say prioritize carbohydrates, it doesn't mean you only aim for carbohydrates either. You're always going to get trace amounts of fats in there. And again, I said before, a bagel, you're not going to fucking eat a bagel on its own. You probably have some bagel with peanut butter or some hazelnut spread, Biscoff or whatever. You're probably going to have the rice cakes, same thing with peanut butter. You're not going to have them on their own. They're dry. Ugh, fuck that. Cereal, you're obviously not going to drink cereal eat cereal by the handful by itself. You might, you could, it tastes great, but you're probably going to want some milk, And so with that, you are going to get fats in there anyway, so it's absolutely fine. But I'm just talking about trying to think about having a carbohydrate primary focus, which would be ideal, right? And so with making these small adjustments and changing your mindset, you probably will notice that you're going to have less bloatedness, less sluggishness overall, so there's not food sitting in your stomach. Probably going to have better energy and better recovery, and also potentially just help you perform within your next session. Okay. Now here's the thing. If you are going to be doing something in the afternoon, let's say it's going to be your second training session or your first training session for the day, and it's the one of the day, the only training session you'll do, or the last training session, I should say, of the day, you do not need immediately to have post carbohydrates that are quick digesting. Okay. You can have slower digesting carbohydrates after your last workout of the day, because you will eventually get the fuel back into your body, right? You're probably going to have 1 or 2 meals after you will replenish that muscle glycogen. It is more about just trying to get some quick carbohydrates immediately post-workout if you're going to be training again in that day. Because high GI carbohydrates will replenish muscle glycogen a lot faster than low GI carbohydrates, right? High GI carbohydrates will spike insulin, as well as protein. If you're having something like a protein shake, so you're going to spike that insulin, put the nutrients back into the muscle, help you recover, help you restore glycogen, and go again, right? So just because there has been a lot of talk lately about, nutritious food and whole foods and all those things, and again, I'm never ever gonna say do not do that, because they come first and foremost. Your diet primarily, and when we say primarily, which is a majority, should come from these things. You don't eat like a fucking child just because you're like, I'm an athlete, I need 3,000 calories, I can eat whatever I want. Because again, we want to avoid any type of deficiencies, okay? And in order to avoid deficiencies, we just make sure that what we're doing for a majority of our food intake is going to be nutritious, filling, ticks all the boxes, full of vitamins and minerals, going to support your health overall. And then the rest of your food comes from whatever you want to have. Cool? So that's just my quick little tip for you guys today. If you have any questions about sports nutrition, as always, shoot me a message on Instagram at Tyson the Trainer with 2 R's. And until next time, speak to you guys then.